This series is a mission to uncover the true depth of the fashion industry and the huge variety of roles that go towards sending clothes down the catwalk season after season. This week I'm talking to two very special women who are pushing fashion forward to become the best version of itself. We're at the London College of Fashion and I'm just looking at their short courses 2015. Fashion buying and merchandising, digital and social media for fashion brands. That seems mad. Introduction to fashion blogging. Interested? Handbag study tour to Tuscany. Sounds quite nice. Design with Sense, SCENTS. I was a model for one of the graduate shows. On the way out, I remember picking up a course pamphlet and just being really overwhelmed, but also never feeling like I was smart enough to do it. Especially because I'd just been modelling upstairs, and then I walked down and was like, I'd quite like an education in this, but thankfully I ended up doing TV commercials and the rest is history. Scholarly approaches to fashion are becoming more and more broad and analytical, and the London College of Fashion is arguably leading the way. Dr. Carolyn Mair is the head of the new Applied Psychology in Fashion and Psychology for Fashion Professionals courses, instigating a whole new discourse around the relationships between fashion and human behaviour. This course is unique, obviously, to this university, but is it unique to the country? Is it unique to the world?
It's the only one in the world.
That seems insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When I say to people about studying psychology in the context of fashion, it suddenly resonates that, yes, it's obvious.
Of course, that's kind of all it is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Fashion is psychology because it's about human behaviour, but it's never been done before anywhere.
Right. What kind of subject matter are you focusing on then?
To get on the course, the students have to identify some issue within the fashion industries that they believe psychology could make a positive difference towards.
Amazing. Yeah.
So it could be something that furthers knowledge, it could be something that actually campaigns for change using psychological knowledge, or it could be looking at an issue that's not been investigated before. So my work here really is to produce graduates who can help make the fashion industry more ethical, more caring, more sustainable.
So that's the reality that you find. It's not just a misconception. You think that how the media represents fashion is an accurate reflection of it. So we are only using a certain type of size of model. They might only be a certain race.
Yes,
you think
it's
that's
exactly that. It's changing slightly. I do believe it's changing slightly.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, there tends to still be some tokenism.
Yeah.
Within the fashion industries. Now, I understand we can't have a model to represent every single body type there is.
Yeah.
We need to educate people to be more media savvy, for example, to understand that models are models and they don't necessarily represent the whole spectrum of body type. Nevertheless, the studies have shown that having diversity in fashion imagery does increase sales.
It does?
Yeah.
Do you think this is just the beginning of a beautiful relationship between psychology and the fashion industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think the change will happen overnight, but I do believe in 5-10 years that psychologists working within fashion will make a huge difference because they understand how to change people's perceptions.
Yeah.
And there's a large call for changes within the fashion industry.
A current student of Caroline's course is a very well-known name in fashion, a woman who's been pioneering communication and championing progressive ideals within the industry since the 80s. She was also recently described to me as the fashion oracle. Caryn Franklin.
So roughly,
what
area are we talking about?
Well, basically, we're making a documentary about fashion. We've been talking.
How much I know.
We've been talking to lots of people. We interviewed Central St Martin students yesterday about maybe some of their frustrations with getting into the industry once you've graduated from university. So we were interested in how you became immersed in that world.
I was never interested in fashion. That's
There you
true.
go, that's-
Got into it by accident.
Yeah, I mean, most people we've spoken to, that was what happened, which is interesting as well. It wasn't like it didn't seem like a job option at the time or something.
No, because it wasn't.
Right.
Because fashion back in the 80s wasn't really a respectable career. My dad would often say to me, when are you going to get a job that pays you proper money?
So you were studying graphic design?
Yeah.
So did you think, oh, I'd quite like a job in that world?
So I was at Kingston for 3 years with Helen Storey, John Richmond, Glenda Bailey, and so they needed people to wear their clothes. So I would always kind of stand there like that, where everything's fitted on me, and think, this is much more interesting than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I spent my course photographing them and listening to what tutors were saying, and so I obviously kind of picked up stuff by osmosis, and I just thought, that's my family. That's where I belong. So that was the thing I wanted to do when I left.
Yeah.
So that was the first knock on the door. You know, in those days it wasn't as competitive as it is now. There weren't so many people studying. It wasn't on telly. It wasn't until Clothes Show that people got excited about, fashion. When we first started, people couldn't name English designers. They didn't know they had an amazing industry.
That feeds into what we're talking about, because we were discussing how that influenced so many people, like Christopher Kane and everyone we've been talking to. It talked about fashion and it gave it weight and it didn't make it seem frivolous or silly. Sometimes it did, but it was fun.
It was a dream job. I mean, and it did shape me because it really did care about ordinary people's experience of fashion.
British youth are famed for their colourful uniforms and tribal affiliations. For the gents, inspiration comes from all quarters, and hip-hop culture has made a major impact on the fashion scene. But what's going to happen next? We've come down to Bristol to watch street style in action and find out who's wearing what.
Well, my whole space that I've been working on for a long time is, body image positivity and diversity. Back in the day, when I first started fashion, I thought nothing of seeing middle-aged women, pensioners on the catwalk, because that's what Body Map did, and they were the coolest design duo around. They had their mums, their aunties, they had their clubland friends on the catwalk.
Do you think it's changing slightly now? I mean, I've seen with social media and the kind of rise of girls with personality once more kind of dominating that arena, because obviously it's all about how many followers you have, and the most captivating women tend to be those who are kind of showing more of themselves. People like Cara Delevingne or Kendall Jenner, they're on the catwalk, live streaming it and being a bit more interesting. So I hope that it's moving in that direction. But it's tough, like I get, whenever I have to read anything, it's always like about how scrawny I look or how gross I am. And then I'm asked to comment on that in interviews or whatever, and it's really difficult to know what to say, because I want to be able to promote a healthy body image, but how can you... I don't know, in the last interview I gave, I was just saying I would love to look like Daisy Lowe, but I don't. But I'm happy with how I look, but equally I don't want to use this as an example of how young girls should look. So what are you meant to say? I don't know.
That's horrible.
Advice, please.
Well, to a certain extent, if we had more of a spectrum of beauty, you would be able to hold your position and celebrate who you are, as you rightly should be able to. But, we would be able to see all these mixes playing out. So different body shapes, different ages, different ethnicities, different body types.
Do you think that now is a good time for a revolution in fashion?
It's always a good time for a revolution. But what I love is that people can do their thing in a kind of post-punk, countercultural way, but they now have, they now can self-publish, or they can set up immediate kind of e-commerce, and they can reach that community. So now has never been a better time for creatives to shift, to promote product and to promote themselves and what they stand for. And we've never had this much sort of technology before. We've never had this much digital connection. And the very fact that people are powerful and they can create a narrative around something that is suddenly very meaningful to the brands. Just maybe that is a massive power in itself.
There you have it. That's the end of episode 3, and wasn't it a joy? Love Caryn Franklin. Subscribe to British Vogue YouTube channel, and you can explore the world of fashion by sitting on your sofa in your sweatpants and watching it through the little porthole square. It's probably a rectangle, isn't it? Next week, I go shoplifting in Paul Smith's showroom and find out what's in store for the future of bottoms at WGSN.